There's a place I know that I hold near and dear to my heart called Browntown. Now, you may have never been there, but once you hear about it, you could swear that you've been on its streets before. You've seen the streetlights, smelled the air, heard the hustle and bustle of its people going about their days. It's not the biggest town or the most prestigious, and it isn't getting much notice for being the best at anything in particular for that matter. But it sure isn't the scariest or dirtiest, most boring place either. You can pick any part of town and find something to do, or at the very least, someone interesting to talk to. But if you want my opinion, there's only one part of town that can truly make you understand the feeling I get whenever I'm there. Let me tell you a little something about downtown Browntown. Over the years, Browntown has had its share of pizza parlors and sub shops. Some have been local institutions for years, never selling anything less than their best day in, day out, other than certain holidays or family emergencies. Some lasted less than a month, opening up in the same spot as some other forgotten joint only to close the doors after several health code violations or alleged criminal activity. However, there is one shop that has a more interesting story than simply selling Nona's special pie from the old country or making the best chopped cheese outside of Harlem. And that shop is Romani Brothers Pizza Subs, owned by Nick and Luke Romani. Strategically located across from the downtown fire station, Romani Brothers has been operated for the past 15 years by the two native South Brown boys, and a revolving door of local kids who need a part-time gig. Over the years, Romani Brothers has seen its share of changes. Whether it's alterations to its menu, designs for pizza boxes, or tolerance levels for various pests and vermin. And even though some things change, the two that never have changed are Nick and Luke. Nick is the older brother of the two, and if you couldn't tell that by witnessing one interaction between them, then you just aren't paying attention. Nick often throws the firstborn son card in Luke's face for any situation he possibly can. Luke will just as often relent to the whims of his older brother, while adding tallies to the wall, labeled Holiday Bonus for Luke, with dollar signs on either side, and 15 years worth of bonuses to show just how much he was earning from this game of cat and mouse. Interestingly enough, Nick isn't even the firstborn son in the family. He's actually the third, while Luke is still the youngest as the fourth. A faded family photograph on a shelf above the counter shows a large Romani family photo, with circles around the two brothers, along with the rest of their family of 7. Other than being the oldest Romani brother in the shop, Nick's accolades include, but are not limited to, first Romani to go to culinary school, first Romani to drop out of culinary school, first Romani to impulsively get a loan to buy a restaurant space in their hometown, and first Romani to begin a family business. He's never cared much for being the best at something due to that causing competition and continued effort. Nick much prefers being the first one to do anything, since nobody can go back and take that away once you've done it. He doesn't see himself as an innovator, because he very clearly isn't, and is rather proud of the fact that he has many influences in his business decisions. The decor of the shop comes from an old restaurant he remembered going to with his family as a kid on vacation. The pizza toppings are from a top 10 list he found online, along with his personal preferences. Even the name of the shop was chosen before his brother agreed to co-sign on the loan, because he liked the family name plus brothers formula of other restaurants. So no, Nick isn't by any stretch of the imagination an innovator. But he does know what he likes. And lucky for Browntown, what Nick likes is very similar to what a lot of other people like too. Luke's official business card lists him as CEO, co-founder, and crown prince of the Romani Brothers restaurant. He keeps that card in his wallet and only ever had the one made. The youngest of the Romani family, he takes great pride in his ownership of the restaurant and has great enthusiasm for his work. When his brother initially pitched the idea to him, he attempted to refuse, but was quickly convinced otherwise with a threat that will never be repeated and a healthy percentage of ownership of the business. When they opened the restaurant, Luke had just finished high school and was planning on traveling the world for a year to discover his passion. However, with the opportunity presented to him then and there, this plan was traded in for opening Romani Brothers, and he now saves his travels for the holidays. Luke had absolutely no experience in the service industry going into business with his brother, and also had no idea what went into running a restaurant. But he had something very important that Nick didn't have, and that was a good credit score, and the ability to forge their parents' signatures on a loan application for a bank out of town. Luke quickly adapted to his newfound role and helped claw Romani Brothers up to a stable business after nearly dragging them under several times in the first 3 years of operation. He managed to save them from total failure in a way that is surprising, but more confusing than anything else. When Luke was first brought on board for starting the restaurant, he did feel a bit taken advantage of by his older brother. So, he did what any younger sibling would do in that situation. He increased the amount of money they'd be asking for and opened his own side business, which operated out of the back of the restaurant. Originally, Romani Brothers was just a pizza parlor, and Luke had no talent for cooking whatsoever. What Luke did have a talent for, at least in his mind, was making sandwiches. Only cold sandwiches, though. If he tried to toast anything or do anything requiring warming or cooking, it was bound to wind up aflame. And so, instead of being the co-owner of one struggling restaurant, Luke became the co-owner of one struggling restaurant and the sole owner and operator of a second struggling takeout business. Eventually, the two brothers managed to work something out after a few years of barely scraping by. And Romani Brothers Pizza and Subs was born. And, much to the surprise of nobody other than the two brothers, the restaurant was able to stabilize since it was no longer attempting to be two separate businesses in the same kitchen being run by two people with no experience running a restaurant. It was now one business in one kitchen being run by two people who had run between 1 and 2 restaurants each. Since Nick was at least a partially trained cook, hot sandwiches were added to their menu alongside the original cold subs, and Luke was able to manage the finances well enough to handle hiring delivery drivers and covering other essentials for their growing business. When it comes down to it, Romani Brothers is by no means the best restaurant in downtown Browntown. It doesn't have the best slice, the best sub, or the best hygiene. It's not on anybody's list of top places to visit when they're in town and want to grab lunch. It isn't even the cheapest place to get a bite to eat. But it's always there. It's been around for long enough that it is a pillar of downtown. Everyone in Browntown knows the Romani Brothers and knows the story of how they somehow managed to not run their business into the ground. Everyone knows that Luke is the youngest and Nick is the oldest, at least in the restaurant. Everyone knows that when they need a hot meal, they can go get one from Romani Brothers if they really need to. And Nick knows that it isn't the best restaurant, but he does know it's the first restaurant in Browntown to become a pizza and sub shop after being two separate stores owned by the same brother. and that's something he takes pride in. And Luke doesn't know why his brother takes pride in that, but he does know that this holiday bonus is already looking like it's going to blow every other year out of the water at the rate Nick is ranting about being the oldest brother again. And now you know about downtown Browntown's own Romani Brothers Pizza and Subs, located on the corner of Main and Pine, across from the fire station. Be sure to consider it as an option before ultimately choosing a better option from one of Browntown's many restaurants.